Grassy Narrows First Nation rallies against mercury poisoning. Welcome to Regent Park TV. I'm Gabriel, and today we bring you the Indigenous report, Grassy Narrows First Nation rallies against mercury poisoning. This month, we spotlight a critical issue affecting the Grassy Narrows community in northwestern Ontario as they demand justice for decades of mercury contamination that has impacted their health and environment. On September 18, 2024, members of this community held a rally and march at Queen's Park in Toronto to demand justice for decades of mercury poisoning that has severely impacted their health and environment. The contamination began in the 1960s and 70s when a nearby paper mill dumped 9 tons of mercury into the English-Wabigoon River system, poisoning the fish that are a staple food source for the Grassy Narrows people. Today, about 90% of the community suffers from mercury poisoning, leading to serious health problems. During the rally, over 100 members of Grassy Narrows were joined by supporters as they marched from Grange Park to the Ontario Legislature. They called for fair compensation, protection of their traditional lands from industrial threats, and urgent action to clean up the mercury contamination.
Free Grassy! Free Grassy! Free Grassy! Free Grassy!
Through our monthly Indigenous report, Regent Park TV aims to raise awareness about Indigenous issues like this one, which may not be well known in our neighborhood. We encourage our viewers to learn more and support the ongoing efforts to bring justice and healing to the Grassy Narrows community.
Good afternoon. Bonjour. I just want to say thank you for coming out to support Grassy Narrows. It's been a long time. We've been struggling for over 50 years. And it's not just mercury poisoning. Grassy Narrows has suffered a lot. It has gone through so many different things over the years. And for myself, I've watched all the things that have happened during my lifetime, during the time that I've been living in Grassy Narrows, along with my brothers, my sisters, my family. I come from a very humble family. My father was a fishing guide, a trapper, a hunter. My mother was a woman that trapped and fished and lived off the land. She was very happy whenever she went into the bush because that was her life, because she was brought up that way. I want to tell you this morning or this afternoon that my mother could not speak English. She was one of the last people in our community that you had to interpret for because she couldn't speak a word of English. So wherever she went, if we went to Kenora, if we went to Winnipeg, anywhere, we had to interpret for her because she only spoke English. And right now, today, we are slowly losing our language. Most of our young people just speak English, and some of them don't even understand our language, and they're slowly, it's just fading. But we are doing our best through native language programs at the school, and also parents doing their best to teach our children. We are slowly regaining that so that so our children can speak English. So all these challenges we have has impacted our lives. Around 1958, the community was relocated by the federal government with the promise that they will have a school with the promise that every house would have running water, with a promise that we would be able to live lives like all Canadians. I want to tell you right now that was a complete lie. We did not get running water. We did not get the benefits that were promised. It took years before we finally got running water, and that was during the 90s. Even that was not adequate because our community ended up having a boil water advisory for a long, long time. This is not right. This is not right for us. We are not asking more than any other Canadian. We are not asking for mansions and stuff like that. All we're asking is to be treated equally and be able to live lives just like any other Canadian. That's all we want. That's all we're asking for. And so we are gathered here today to bring to you another problem, which is mercury poisoning, which has been going on for so long. And like I said, we've been struggling with so many things. First, relocation. They relocated us, took us away from our land, our original land. But you know what? Grassy Narrows is still here and will continue to stay where we are. Many of our children were forced to go to residential school. I went to residential school, and there we were told not to speak our language. There we were told to put away our native identity. There we were told that we could not be native, we could not be Indian. But you know what? We're still here. Then another thing came on. They had what they call 60 scoops. 60 scoop where our children were taken away. Many of our Grassy children were taken away, forced to live at different homes, to live in a stranger's house. And with the same principle, they lose their language, they lose their nativeness. And many of them have never come back to Grassy Narrows. They're still living out there. We have over 600 of our community members living across Canada or the United States, and they've never come home because of the 60 scoop. But I want to tell you that the majority of Grassy Narrows people, they are still here. Do you know that during the 40s and 50s, whenever Native women had children, they did secret procedures on their bodies so that they couldn't have any more babies? They did that because they were afraid that the population of Native people was growing too rapidly. And so whenever a Native woman had a baby, they would secretly do a procedure on their body so they couldn't have any more children. But I want to tell you, regardless of that, we are still here. There is forestry. Grassy Narrows has stood up to forestry. Big trucks came to our community, but our people, our children, they stood up to them, and they stood in front of those tractor trailers. They took it upon themselves to put themselves in danger and to say no more logging in Grassy Narrows. We've also took a stand on mining. We've written letters. We've made sure that there's going to be no mining in near our community, because we are tired of being poisoned. We are tired of our land being devastated. We are tired of our land being raped and all the resources being taken with no benefits to Grassy Narrows. They always promise money. They always promise this is what we're going to give you. But when it's all said and done, we are left with nothing. And so, you know, because of industry, our community is poisoned. Because of industry, we are unable to live normal lives. Because of industry, our children are suffering. Our children are suffering with neurological problems. Our elders, some of them can barely walk. Some of them just can't be normal elders anymore because of mercury poisoning. But I want to tell you this today, and I want to tell you this afternoon, we are still here. We are still on the mighty English River, and we will stay there as long as the sun shines, as long as the grass grows, as long as the river flows. We will remain in Grassy Narrows First Nation. We're not going away. My vision has been that after I'm gone, that my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren will be able to enjoy the land that we are living in. That my grandchildren will be able to still hear the birds singing. That my grandchildren will be able to hear the river flowing. That my grandchildren, great-grandchildren will be able to look into the sky and see a clear sky. That my grandchildren will be able to sit outside by the river and be able to hear the sound of a loon howling. It's a loon making its noise as the sun sets. And then that they'll be able to hear that bird making its loud cry. If you ever hear the sound of a loon, it is very haunting. It has its own sound, but it's very beautiful. And I want all generations, future generations, to be able to hear the cry of that loon. And that they'll be able to enjoy that because we, the people of Grassy Narrows, the people today, not just myself, but all of you that came to protest together, that we will leave behind this for our great-grandchildren and for many generations to come, that we stood up and we said, no more poisoning of our river. That we stood up together and we told the Ontario government, clean up the river. That we stood together and told the federal government, you have a fiduciary duty to take care of the people of Grassy Narrows. And like I said last night, these two governments will try to toss it back and forth and say it's the provincial responsibility, it's the federal responsibility. But like I said last night, they're both responsible. So I want to say to both levels of government, it's time. It's time to clean up the river, and it's time to compensate all the people of Grassy Narrows. Thank you.
We thank Chief Turtle with another big round of applause. So important for us to understand that Grassy and other other nations fighting for justice, allowing us to join them in their struggle for liberation and their resistance, are getting freer, and in doing so, are getting us all a little freer with them. We're going to welcome up Desmond Cole, author, activist, and journalist, up to speak. Big round of applause.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You can say it back. Good afternoon. We're all here together. We might as well be here vocally and loudly so that everyone within our reach can hear why we are here and what we have to say. It is such a tremendous honor to be asked to speak here this afternoon, to speak after Chief Turtle. I've been reflecting on a film that I watched recently called Yinta. How many of you have heard of it? I saw Yinta earlier this summer, and it's a wonderful film that documents the struggle of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and many other First Nations in that area trying to stop the coastal gas pipeline from being built. And this film spans about a decade or more of struggle, of education, of resistance. And it's very clear when you watch this film that the hereditary chiefs of the Wet'suwet'en and others are willing to lay down their lives to stop that development from happening. Why? Why were they so willing and continue to be so willing to lay down their very lives to stop a pipeline development? Because of reasons why we're standing here today. Because when we allow industry to have its way, when we allow industry to dictate the terms of development, of environmental stewardship, or otherwise environmental degradation, this is what happens. Things like Grassy Narrows happen, and they go on so much longer than the original disaster or so-called accident which people foretold was going to happen, which people predicted and warned against. It is too late. It is too late not just for the people affected in that moment, but it is too late for the generations afterwards. And here we are, decades after Grassy, still demanding that Mercury be cleaned up, still demanding compensation. We should not be in this situation today. And as much as we want everyone to be compensated when there is a harm done to communities, when there is ill health, when there are rates of cancer, of course we want people to get adequate health care. Of course we want them to receive compensation. But what would be even better is if we didn't put people today and future generations in the situation where they needed those things to begin with. So when I go on my bike to the Humber River west of us, or when I go to the Don River east of us, or when I go down south to the lake, I wonder if the water is clean. I wonder if the water is safe for me to wade in, put my hands in. What do you guys think?
No! Covered in sewage. Are you blind?
We have every reason to be concerned because the wills and the desires of industry always seem to come before the needs and the health and safety of people. But it is such a blessing to have these rivers around us. We're standing on rivers that we don't even realize are under us. We're walking in this territory, in this city, under this concrete. We are walking across rivers, walking across water that sustains us, and we need to remain connected to it. I want to say something about what happens when we fight back. Because we're going to Queen's Park today, and 8 years ago, when our family here decided to organize this event and went down to Queen's Park, they did a little demonstration of what happens when we allow industry to run rampant. And they did a little bit of a symbolic kind of dumping of a substance at Queen's Park. And wouldn't you know it, people were very angry at the idea that something was being dumped onto the lawn of Queen's Park. What was in it? Was it dangerous? Was it poisonous? And the police decided they were going to arrest several of the people who were engaged in that demonstration. And I bring that up because just like in the movie Yinta that I watched, just like what happened at Queen's Park 8 years ago, every time that Indigenous peoples stand up for treaty rights, stand up on unceded territory, for clean air and clean water, get in the face of government and say you're not living up to your commitments and responsibilities, they are criminalized. But they are not alone. Because as a black person living on these territories, I also understand, and black people understand, what it means to be criminalized for speaking up for accountability and justice and health. And as a black person on these territories, I just want to say to all First Nations, Métis and Indigenous and Inuit people who are fighting back, we understand your struggle. We feel the pain, the fear of criminalization and surveillance, and we must unite together, black and Indigenous communities, for a brighter future. But I would say that about all of us. If you've been paying attention in the city lately, you probably know that it is becoming harder and harder to do what we're doing here today, to simply gather and make peaceful demands. Demands that are not just for us, but for people who are coming after us. It's becoming harder and harder for us to do that without interference, surveillance, and intimidation. And that is why it's so important that there are so many of us here saying we refuse to be silenced, we refuse to be intimidated, and until we get justice for the people of Grassy Narrows, we're going to keep marching and organizing and fighting. So thank you very much to the organizers of this event. Thank you to Free Grassy. Thank you to the Grassy Narrows First Nation. Thank you every single one of you for being here. And I just want to say it's an honor to be asked to speak at an event like this and to be able to share this day with you. Thank you so much.
Big round of applause for Desmond Cole. All right, we're going to do a chant in honor of this solidarity between communities, and I think you guys know the call and response to it. No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No racist! No peace! No justice! No peace! No racist! No peace! Woo! All right, I'm going to be reading out the demands from Grassy Narrows. The government of Ontario and Canada must compensate everyone in Grassy Narrows fairly for the Mercury crisis. Shame! End threats to Grassy Narrows land, water, and people. No mining, logging, and nuclear waste. Shame! Support Grassy Narrows in restoring their way of life and well-being from the damage that Mercury has done. Shame! This is a key part of the movement for Indigenous sovereignty, land back and environmental justice. I say land, you say back, land, 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 land. Woo. All right, I'm going to read out the organizations who've supported this event. There are so many that we have split this into 2 blocks. We're going to do half here and half when we get to Queen's Park. We want to say a big thank you to the Two-Spirit people of the First Nations, 350 Canada, 350 Toronto, the 519 Community Centre, Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Television and Radio Artists, Amnesty International, Anglican Diocese of Toronto, Anishinaabe Health Toronto, Banking on a Better Future, Ben & Jerry's, they have ice cream in the back, you should have some. Breakaway Addiction Services, the Canadian Association of Public Employees, Canadian Centre for Victims of Torture, Canadian Environmental Law Association, Canadian Federation of Students Ontario, Canadian Labour Congress, Canadian Union of Public Employees, Chinatown Land Trust, Chinese Feminism in Toronto, Climate Justice Toronto, Climate Foundation, Decent Work and Health Network, Decolonial Solidarity, Disability Justice Network Ontario, Downey Wenjack Fund, Downtown Jewish Community Council, Earth Roots, Eco Justice, Elementary Teachers of Toronto, Environmental Defense, Eshkenagig Nashmativgavik, Etobicoke Climate Action, Food Share, For Our Kids Toronto, Fridays for Future, Greenpeace Canada, Health Workers Alliance for Palestine, Healthcare for All Coalition, Healthcare for All Coalition twice, Indigenous Climate Action, Indigenous Theatre, Jane and Finch Action Against Poverty, Kairos, Karma Co-op, Karma Food Co-op, Kensington Land Trust. There's still more. Okay. But we're going to get to the rest when we get to Queen's Park.
Hi everyone, welcome. What happens to the people? Happens to the people. Back! 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 Back!
All right, we are going to welcome up Chief Turtle to speak. Can we give Chief Turtle a round warm of applause?
Years ago, oh, it wasn't that long, maybe 4 years ago, I ran in the federal election. I represented the NDP party for the Kenora riding. I was their candidate. And during that time, because the candidates would support one another, I was invited to go to Thunder Bay. And while I was in Thunder Bay, we were having supper. This elderly gentleman came to me and he started talking to me. He told me, he said, years ago when they first discovered Mercury and Grassy Narrows, I traveled with the Premier and his team. And as we were flying to Grassy Narrows, one of the advisors told the Premier or the minister that was responsible for Grassy Narrows, he told him, Mr. Minister, don't worry about this. This is just an Indian problem. It will go away in 2 weeks. Now, over 50 years later, we still have that problem. It didn't go away in 2 weeks. And we're still fighting to have this thing fixed, to have the river cleaned up, to have our people compensated, to have a better environment for the community of Grassy Narrows. We are trying to reclaim what we have lost because of mercury poisoning.
Justice for Grassy
And so, you know, we appreciate your support. We appreciate everything that you've done for us. I just want to say thank you. But I also want to express my disappointment. I'm disappointed that the Grand Chief is not here. I'm disappointed that the Regional Chief is nowhere to be found. I'm disappointed that the National Chief is not here because we invited her to come and support us. It's wrong. I don't know why they seek these offices and yet they can't even come and stand with us when we're fighting for our communities. You know what I'm discovering? Most of the higher, like those people that hold those offices, they don't really want to rock the boat anymore. They'd rather go wine and dine with the Prime Minister. They'd rather soft foot. They don't want to speak out the critical issues that our people are facing because they're afraid to lose their funding if they speak out really hard. We just don't have the hard-hitting politicians that we used to have long time ago. People that weren't afraid to tell the government, take care of your people. It's going to be difficult. It's going to get really hard, I believe, because of the prediction that they're making that there's going to be a new government. But also, I want to remind you, about 8 or 9 years ago, this man promised sunny ways after he was elected. Well, where are the sunny ways? You probably know who I'm talking about. Mr. Sunny Ways himself, Prime Minister Trudeau. He's the one that said it. And yet, you know, we're still dealing with this Mercury issue. We're still dealing with the Aboriginal issues that need to be addressed. We're still dealing with boil water advisories. We're still dealing with the inadequate housing. We're still dealing with the inadequate medical facilities. We're still struggling in our communities. Where is that sunny ways? He had 8 or 9 years to provide that. He had 8 or 9 years to do that for Canada. And here, many of our First Nations are still waiting for their water to be fixed, still waiting for their water plants to function properly. There's still boil water advisories in many of our First Nations communities. And now, here we are, 55 years later, 50 years later, we're still asking both governments, Ontario and Canada, clean up the river, compensate Grassy Narrows. It's time to do your job. Mr. Ford, it's time that you did something for Grassy Narrows. And I also want to, tell the Prime Minister, do something for Grassy Narrows. Before you leave your office, it would be a good thing to do for you to answer the calls that Grassy Narrows has been making, and it's time for you to do your job. Do it, and do it properly. Now. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you to you.
I say land, you say back, land,
Back.
land,
Back.
land,
Back.
land.
Back.
I say free, you say grassy, free,
Grassy.
free,
Grassy.
free,
Grassy.
free.
Grassy.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right, we're going to invite Robert up to speak.
I came here to really come and talk about my gratitude for all the support that we are getting from different communities. And I want to mention all the youth, all the children that are here today. I see a lot of different nations, different nationalities, different First Nations. I saw Whitefish Bay youth here. Welcome and thank you for joining us. So all the things that the Chief Turtle has said is pretty much what I have to say, and I'm going to repeat some of it, but the main thing I'm going to talk about is my experience and what I feel from the heart. So miigwech, kijamanetu, miigwech atsu kanat, miigwech anshnabetuk, miigwech nichib matsik. The people of Subscription are victims of attack, victims of violence, victims of poison, victims of racism. The people have endured so much loss, pain, suffering from the terrible mistakes of the governments, Canada and Ontario. The mistake that has cost us our lives, our health, our culture, and our way of life. As Chief Turtle said that in the early 1960s, we were forced to relocate from our original lands, our beautiful home. The old reserve. This move was devastating to the people because the connection we had to the land was disconnected. It was broken. Our hunting, our trapping, our fishing, and our families' delicate balance that they had with nature was disrupted. And again in the 70s, the river our people relied on for sustenance for thousands of years was contaminated by mercury. The mercury poisoned our fish, our animals, and poisoned our people. This was a very terrible thing, a terrible blow to our people that they had to endure. Because once we are poisoned, there's no cure. As I stand here, I suffer from mercury poisoning. I feel it, but I try to live with it. On top of all this, in the 80s, Ontario started clear-cutting our forests. It is enough for people to, with these many attacks on our way of life, our people, it is enough for us to give up. But we didn't. In spite of all these attacks, somehow our young people stood up and started fighting back. They showed us the people of Wabigoon are strong. We will not give. We will never give up. When I go back to the old settlement, our old community, our homeland, the place where I remember peace, where I was happy, where I was healthy, those days of my childhood. When I go there, I could still picture the people living there. I could feel the spirits that are there still. One time I sat by my dad's old cabin for a long time, and I closed my eyes and thought about our ancestors who lived and settled there, and wondered how they got there and how they picked this place, the spot to live. I thought about the journey they had to get here. As I sat there, I started to understand. It was the faith and connection they had to the Creator and to the land. They were guided here by the spirits. They knew that someday we would be here, and we will survive, and we must survive, and we must leave something for our future generations. This fight is not for ourselves. It is for the future of Anishinaabe people across Turtle Island. We too have faith in the Creator and our land. We too seek guidance from the spirits, and we will not give up until we get justice. We will win.
Yeah.
We will win.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all of you. I'm overwhelmed by all the support we are getting. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I've asked Jason and Mike to sing a song that came to me. Talks about our ancestors and how they placed their faith in Kijamanetu to guide them and to help them. And today this is a prayer to all of us that are here. Be good.
Bonjour, anango kap mel nekwan Indigenous bishututem asapish kusawagang nandunji. My name is Chrissy Isaacs, and I'm also my maiden name before I got married is Swain. As we were coming this way, I was thinking about when we first started coming out here. I was actually just in my teens, and now I'm in my 40s. And at the time, I used to stand here and I used to say that I'm a youth of Grassy Narrows, but now I'm saying I'm a grandmother. And back then, I remember saying, I'm doing this so that my children and my grandchildren don't have to do this. But now my children are walking in here with us. And I never thought that, you know, I would be standing here when I had grandchildren. So that's like, there was people that before me too that were speaking out. And I think, why is it taking so long for us to get justice? Over 50 years. Over 50 years our people have been coming to here, to the government, and saying that something needs to be done. You know, and we've seen so many lives lost. And I'm going to touch a subject here that's going to be very, very, very emotional for me. Because one of the big things is the way Mercury affects the brain of our people. I grew up in Grassy Narrows, and I suffered with depression through my whole life. I go through waves of depression, and I never understood why. You know, and being a young person, I tried to take my own life so many times. And in my time, you know, you guys are out here in the cities, and you don't know as many people as I know that have taken their own lives because they never understood why they feel the way they feel. The government, they're murdering our people by allowing these companies to come and put poison in the river, by coming and cutting the trees down and cutting into the rocks for mining. They're killing our people. They killed my 11-year-old niece, my 18-year-old niece, my 12-year-old niece. They killed my cousins. And that's the truth. Our people are literally dying because of this poison. If this happened in this city or in another town, right away they'll jump on it and they'll help them. You know why? Why is it taking so long? What we need is that mill to be shut down now. Yeah. Shut it down! When you guys all go home, we're going to make our way back home, and we still have to live with this poison. So when you go home, you start educating the rest of your families, your friends, You go back to the schools, all these kids go back to the school, and you tell all your friends what the government is doing to people, to human beings. Our lives matter. Yes. I came here because in the springtime I found out I was away from home, but I found out through the media that the mill is still dumping poisons into our river, which made our water even, the poison even more lethal. So that means my grandchildren that are here today and probably tomorrow are still being poisoned. We need to shut it down, and we need our people to be compensated, and we need them to stop logging and mining in our territory. No more. Our people say no more. No more. So what I'm going to ask all of you is to start making your posts on your media, on your social media, and you start saying, shut it down. Shut it down. Shut down the Dryden Mill. Shut it down. 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 Shut it down.
We need a new chief.
We shouldn't be standing here next year or the year after or the year after or the year after. My grandchildren shouldn't be standing here one day asking for justice. They need to act now. They need to listen. They need to start doing something good for this country. They need to do better for our people. So that's all I'm going to say, miigwech.
Greetings everyone. My name is Saul Mamakwa. I'm the MPP for the riding of Kiwetnuk. Grassy Narrows is part of my riding. It is important to be here. It's important to support
Regent Park TV.
Chief Rudy Turtle. It's important to support Chrissy. It's important to support the youth that are here. I know that it's 2024, and today we should not be doing this. We should not be coming back here just to try to fight the ongoing colonialism, the ongoing oppression that has an impact on their ways of life, their identity. Grassy Narrows, the people of Grassy Narrows are the ones that pay in full with their health. Grassy Narrows are the ones that pay in full with their lives because of this ongoing non-action.
Ongoing genocide!
The ongoing genocide, right. Because if you're not doing anything, you're part of that genocide. If you just stand by, you're part of the oppressors. So I thank you all for being here and keep on supporting Grassy Narrows. We will continue to fight in this place when we come back on October 21st. Miigwech.
All right, we're going to call up Hassan to do a call to action, and while Hassan is doing that, we're welcoming youth from Grassy to stand behind here. Darren's got a request that we put a fist up towards Queen's Park, which we should do. Yeah, and the crowd can do it also. I think that would be wonderful. Thank you. Hassan.
Hi everyone. I want to acknowledge again that we are gathered here today on the territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Lands that have been defended for centuries by the Haudenosaunee people and the Wendat nations. These lands are also under a treaty called the Turo Wampum. And what the Turo Wampum says is that there are two canoes, one for Indigenous people and one for settlers, and migrants, and those who are non-Indigenous. and that they must remain separate and move together. So I speak now to people who are in our canoe, to the non-Indigenous people here. And I want to remind you of the words that Robert said, and I want you to say them with me. Robert said, "We will not give up."
We will not give up.
Say it with me.
We will not give up.
I want you to think deep in your heart. Think about what it is that inspires you and that drives you, and from that place say the words, "We will not.
We will not.
We will not give up."
We will not give up.
For Chrissy told us, she came here as a teenager and now she's a grandmother, and Chrissy did not give up, so we
Will not give up.
For over half a century, the people of Grassy Narrows have stood up and against this intersection of colonial violence, and they have said, "We will not give up." So what do you say?
We will not give up.
When the world's largest paper mill company tried to come into Grassy Narrows and log those trees, Grassy Narrows said, "We will not give up." So what do we say?
We will not give up.
When Grassy Narrows has stood up against mining on its territories from the world's largest gold companies, Grassy Narrows said, "We will not give up." So what do we say?
We will not give up.
We are here outside of Queen's Park to say to Ford that Grassy is not alone and the rest of us will not give up. Say it with me. We will not give up.
We will not give up.
If you are sitting, I want you to stand up. I want you to remember that what we are doing here today is making a commitment. That these are not just words that we are saying aloud, but that this is a promise and a pledge that we are doing. So make this pledge with me. Say it with me. We will. We will not.
We will not.
We will not give up.
We will not give up.
And this is not a thing that has happened just half a century ago. It is happening today. Today, a paper mill is putting methyl mercury, which is the most poisonous form of mercury, into Grassy's river. And that is why people are falling sick. And so when we are being asked to do is to not give up. So say it with me. We will not give up.
We will not give up.
When we are gathered here today, we are here sending a message to Ford and to Trudeau and to every politician in this country that this community of 1,600 people does not stand alone, but there are thousands of us that march with Grassy because we will not give up.
We will not.
We will not give up.
We will not give up.
Say it louder. We will not give up.
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 And so Robert ended with these words. So say these words with me. He said, "We will win." So say, "We will.
We will.
We will win.
We will win.
Until Grassy is free, we will win.
Until Grassy is free, we will win.
Until Grassy is free, we will not give up.
Until Grassy is free, we will not give up.
Shut down that mill.
Shut it down now.
These are Indigenous lands. And it is our task to stand in defense of Indigenous self-determination. So one last time, as loud as you can say we will not.
We will not.
We will not give up.
We will not give up.
Free Grassy.
Free Grassy.
Free Grassy.
Free Grassy.
Thank you.
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
All right, we are going to welcome up for an open mic for Grassy folks only. If there are folks from Grassy that would like to speak.
Bonjour everyone. I'm Steve Foster Sr.'s grandson. And my name is Steve. I'm junior. I come from Grassy Narrows, and you know, all I can say is, you know, I lived with, you know, Mercury for the rest of my life. You know, at the age of 2, I had seizures, you know, from age 2 to age 8, you know, and that's really sad, you know. And my grandfather, Steve, you know, always took me to these, you know, these places, you know, where they were cutting down the trees. I witnessed it myself, you know, could see them cutting down trees, you know. They used it, you know, they said that, you know, they'll provide jobs and stuff, you know, but, you know, it's not true. They don't realize what they're doing. They're destroying future life, you know, and, you know, they don't understand that, you know, they're destroying life of basically, you know. And what happens is when they cut trees down, it releases mercury, you know. And, you know, hearing about, you know, I didn't understand about mercury till I was the age of 12. I finally understand, you know. I was pretty sick, you know. And to this day, I watch future generations struggle with these symptoms, you know. And it's a sad thing. I have to see, as, you know, mercury doesn't die. It lives in people. It's just gonna keep going on and on, which, you know, we're gonna keep fighting from generation after generation. The government's not gonna stop hearing from us until we get our word, until we get our fight. You know, what I see here is, you know, we're all a connection. We're all a family. You know, we all fight for, you know, what we want right. What I see here is, you know, the government don't care. You know, if they care, they say promises. They say, let's make Canada green. Leaving mercury in the water isn't a green thing. Promises, they're breaking promises with people. They don't understand they're destroying future lives. They don't understand that, you know, that mercury is an environmental issue. You know, and, you know, I watch, you know, my grandpa said, you know, continue my legacy, don't give up. You know, and I won't never give up. I'll keep fighting until. You know, all I can say is, you know, Mr. Red is not gonna get a kind word from us. We're gonna keep fighting. And, you know, as us young ones, we're gonna give him hell of a fight. And, you know, I would fight for anyone because, you know, life is life. Water is life, you know. And, you know, these are the things that, you know, what my grandpa said. My grandpa, Robert, you know, he said, on all the words he said really impacted me, you know, because that's what we have to struggle with every day. We have to go home to this. But, you know, okay, like the way I see it is that, you know,
We love you.
That's what we would like to see, you know, we would like to get an answer. But you know, the way I see it with the government is, you know, they're just passing the word around. They're not, you know, they keep switching, that's their tactic. They don't stick to one because they're scared. You know, they're scared of the people because we're all united. That's what they fear, is because, you know, we're the ones that give them the power.
That's right.
Without us, they won't be where they are. We had that trust in them, but they're not giving us, you know, they're not giving us that compensation. They're not giving us, you know, that anything what we ask for. They're just tossing us aside like we're nothing. You know, and they don't understand, like what I said, what Mercury, I have to live with it. All of us have to live with it from Grassy, you know. That's a hard thing to live with, you know, and, you know, that's, I don't know, it's just sad, that's all I can say, you know. It's nothing, there's nothing, no positives about it, you know. They don't understand that this passing the, you know, passing it around, like what I said, they made promises, they're not following them.
How we hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Justice. Justice.
And that's what we're gonna give them. We're gonna give them the battle until we get what we want. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paris Lucas. I'm 20 years old and I've actually been here 4 years ago. That was actually my first time ever getting on a truck and saying a speech. And today I come back here because after what I've learned, that they're still dumping poison into our waters.
Shame!
And honestly, that makes me sad to hear. Because I have nieces and nephews that are not even like 10 years old yet, and I don't want them to have to grow up knowing that there's poison in our waters, and the fact that we've been ignored for so long. Honestly, they probably I don't know. The government probably likes to see us struggle. But today we're here to fight. And we will not be ignored until we get a change. If we gotta give them hell, we'll give them hell.
Give them
Just like that.
Thank you.
Bonjour. My name is Mariah Swain and I'm from the Lynx clan, Grassy Narrows. Also a grandmother. First of all, I want to acknowledge everybody that's here that supports our community, Grassy Narrows. But I also want to acknowledge our elders that traveled from our community to be here. And I also want to acknowledge the youth that continue to fight our fight. As Chrissy mentioned earlier, when she talked about losing her nieces, those were my granddaughters, the 11-year-old and 18-year-old, and they came to these river runs, and my 18-year-old granddaughter was a youth ambassador that was always here fighting for justice. And today I'm here to acknowledge our youth, our children and youth, because it's their future. And also I also want to acknowledge our band members, our elders that fought for this a long time ago. One of the people from our community, Tommy Kizik, he's an elder, and they started the fight. Tommy Kizik, Steve Fobister, Andy Kiwaitan, a lot of those older guys. I know Tommy barely gets around now. I wish he could have been here to stand here and tell you guys about the fight that they started a long time ago. But I also want to acknowledge, the people that continue to fight this fight for us. Jody De Silva and everybody else that helped her. But part of the reason why I wanted to get a chance to address the people was I work as a child and family advocate of my community. So our program started in 2019, and during the years of operation, I've seen the impacts of what it's doing to our children and also our families, our parents. And one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of our children have been diagnosed with autism, ADHD, all those things, and we just don't have an education system to accommodate those special needs. And that's one thing we need to fight for, because it's their future. We need a specialized unit where we want to make our youth stronger, we want to make our children strong. And in that case, we need a really strong education system that's gonna, a lot of our children are falling through the cracks because of that. And it made me feel sad when two parents came to me. There's no help for my child because in the school system that it's not, the teachers are not trained to educate children in that way that have those special needs. So that's going to be another fight that we're going to have on our hands, is to fight where we can get a good education for our children. You know, we say our future, and I see people carrying every child matters. Well, we need to focus on that, is to have a really, really good education system for our children, because we want to make them strong. We want them educated, because one of these days, I want them to be in my footsteps. And I want them to take care of me. So that's why I wanted to come up and speak, is for those children that are battling disabilities. We have a lot of our children that do have disabilities and that require that specialized help. So I am pleading with everybody to support us in that area, and also our leadership to push for that, you know, where our children can be educated, that everybody deserves, you know, an education. So with that, you know, I'm a grandmother. I say miigwech for listening.
Hamadakiapi, Tate Washten Ape, Echuzapi, Mexia, Tashanka Awakita, Amachiapi, Ampetu Washte, you happy? Hello, my beautiful relatives. I shake your hand with a good heart. I'm Cody Looking Horse, and I'm 26 years old from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe of South Dakota. I'm also from the Mohawk Haudenosaunee tribe. And I just want to say, from the beginning, reservations were not made for us. They were temporary. They were made to isolate us, make us weak. And that's what it's doing right now to this day. They're poisoning our water on purpose. They're doing a lot of these things, these mercuries. They knew what they were doing. They knew that it was going to make us sick, but they did not bat an eye. And we're dealing with the consequences today of the government, the lack of governance of our waterways on Mother Earth. It is not right. Shame. Shame on them for not batting an eye, for missing and murdered Indigenous women and men. Shame on them for not loving our Mother Earth the way that she should be. Our Mother Earth has a fever, and that's causing our young ones to have a fever. What about our next 7 generations from now? I stand here representing my forefathers that were not invited on stages. They were not invited to these things that to get recognized. And it's an honor to be here and be recognized by the people and the Oyate of our tribe and our people of this land. And Wopila Tonka. I just want to say it's a great honor to be gifted this sash as a water walker for Judy Silva and all the rest of the Grassy Narrows team for all the work that they've done, and I honor them and give them a round of applause for the beautiful day. There's a saying, Makasi tonia lako wichohanki ote hikido, ina ate malakota kiacha blehemichero. Mother, Father, you made me Indigenous. You made me an Indigenous person. All over the world, being Indigenous is hard. Being Lakota is hard. Being Ojibwe is hard. But I will take courage and stand for the people. That song was made hundreds of years ago, and today we still fight. We still stand, and we're still here. We're sovereign, we're Indigenous, we're warriors. Aho Madakyase.
Let me tell you a story of my situation. I was born being told I never have a graduation. What this
heavy metal that's running through my veins. Gave me superpowers from my heart to my brains. The government is sick and twisted. Mercury and water, they mixed it. They tried to kill our people and missed it. Mercury in the lake, all these people try and take.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on social media, and for more information, check out our website.